about the confusion with the link and everything. Oh,
Sorry, can you see the both of us? All right, that's because we're in one of our conference rooms, so we're not going to individually be necessarily through our laptops. But as long as you can see us and hear us, we can see and hear you. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm glad that you're able to figure it out and it worked out to be on you. So I appreciate you accepting the minor changes for today. Real quick, how did your orientation go this morning?
Congratulations. I just understood that you got a job with teaching job. I don't know much about it. You don't have to say, but congratulations to you. And you're starting today then? Close to it, I suppose. Okay.
Coming up. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the interview. I'm going to turn on our recording. Get started. All right. All right, it's recording. Our transcription is making its appearance. So just officially welcome you to the interview. Appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us and allow us an opportunity to discuss the complaint that you submitted. This interview is being conducted for fiduciary cases 23-0028 and 23-0029 concerning Stephanie McCollum and Taylor Gallus. Again, thanks for taking the time to meet with us. You submitted the complaints in July of 2023, and that's what we're going to discuss today. My name is Jeff Hunt. I'm with the CLD Investigator Unit. Today is July 22nd, 2024. The time is 1:04 p.m. Attending the interview virtually is David Redke, the complainant, and in the room with me is Pasquale Fontana, manager for our CLD unit. This interview is being recorded for investigative purposes, and because the interview is being recorded, we ask that you answer the questions verbally and avoid any head nodding or shaking of your head or any sounds like just so that we have a clear communication line. Real quick, is there anyone else in the room or otherwise able to listen to the interview that we're having right now? Okay, great. Thank you. Of course, during the interview, please allow for the question that's being asked to be completely asked before you begin to answer. If you don't understand, did not hear the question, please let us know and it will be repeated for you. Are you experiencing any condition or impairment that may interfere with your ability to truthfully answer questions today? Okay, great. Any change in your contact information? Great. And just one final note, once our interview is concluded today, we ask that you remember to click the red leave button in the top corner of our meeting, so that way everybody leaves the interview room and we don't have to worry about any post-interview questions or comments. Do you have any questions before we proceed with the interview? And one final thing, if you could say and spell your first and last name for us.
Before this was from Fontana, before Jeff launches into some of the questions, what I want you to be aware of with this particular complaint, Mr. Redkey, is that this complaint, we gave it complaint numbers because it included Stephanie McCall and also licensed fiduciary Miss Gallus and Taylor Gallus. And so, but what you should know is, if you recall me speaking with you way back around the time that you filed this was sort of an accumulation of probably 10 complaints that you filed separately with the division. And so, you filed certain allegations and then filed other ones. So we collapsed them rather than opening 10 or 12 or 13 investigations, which is not how we tend to view these and work, as we are the investigating regulatory body. We took your allegations and we collapsed them into these two complaint numbers, but with all of the allegations that you had made. And so this is sort of a summary of probably, I think there was about 10. I don't have the number right in front of you. So that's what that represents. And so we just collapsed all of the allegations to create this particular one. And we did advise you of that at the time, but I wanted just to refresh that for you. So on that note, I'll leave it to Jeff to carry on.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Roy. As Mr. Fontana has stated to you that collapsed some of the information into various allegations, and we've kind of broken them down into different sections. And the first area we're going to talk about is that in your complaint submittal, you had stated that Ms. McCollum had failed to prudently manage costs of the estate. And these are various ways that you had stated that she directed all communication to go through her counsel, failed to pay the protected person's bills, and billed the estate for her and her staff to attend a probate hearing. So we're going to kind of take each of those sections in that first allegation and ask you some questions under those different headings. So the first area is communication with her counsel. What was the communication plan once Ms. McCollum was appointed to be your conservator?
Mr. Ricky, can we just interject here, because we're moving into other areas that we want to ask you about? Yeah, and so at the beginning of the conservatorship, were there any restrictions? Was it right out of the gate? It sounds like you were able to call her, and you're saying, she may not have returned calls or she did not return calls, but we were curious at the beginning of the conservatorship when she was appointed, what was set up? Were you able to email her? Did you email her? How did the communication work at the beginning?
Needed to be done, meaning
That was done through email, right? In that, whatever you're about to pull up, and I think I know what you mean, but in that, was there any restriction on or a limit or any clear direction on how you were supposed to communicate with her? If you had a query, you had a question, any area of concern? Like what did she set up in the beginning with you to be able to communicate with her office? Yeah, I do recall, and I know it's been a little bit of time has passed, so I appreciate that you may have to go and check some records, and that's okay. But yeah, we're just trying to understand if this was set up from. Can I stop you and ask you about the communication part? And we will certainly want to talk to you about bills. Yeah, no, we do as one of the three things. Remember, we said at the beginning, it was communication that was directed to you that you had to go through council. The second part was about paying your bills, and we want to get to those for sure that you're already starting on. And then the third one was about a probate hearing where she billed for her to attend. So those are the three things we're going to start with. But the first part of it is the communication.
Uh,
And And were you communicating with her in that manner? Where you just emailed her, or you know, was that normal then? But for in terms of how you reached her off and an email address, or no? Okay, and so were you emailing her and or Miss Gallus, whether a period of time where that was happening, where you were emailing her? Okay, did you have any problems with responses or anything like that during the emails? It was you were not to email her, was that it wasn't initially part of the plan? Now, what are you referencing there that you're reading from? What is that? Do you have a, and she was just recently appointed around that time, correct? Who was appointed? Who did the court appoint? no, I'm saying, but the court appointed Miss McCollum. But the court appointed Miss McCollum, or was there a conservator appointed along with Miss McCollum? Okay. It's the second one.
Yeah.
But the court appointed Miss McCollum. Okay. Um, Go ahead. You're about to ask a voice.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Mr. Recchi, so you stated that the preferred method of communication as she laid out in that February email was, please email me. And you were doing that, correct me if I'm wrong, you were for a period of time. And then it changed from Ms. McCollum saying, okay, from now on, all communication must go through, I guess, your attorney or Mr. Scaringelli. So two things. One is, when did that change? And what was the expectation at that time, as you understand? But let me ask about when it actually changed, because it's sounding like you want to discuss the actual issues regarding the taxes. Well, we're trying to establish when it changed. And when was that? When was so when was that when you were when this was happening? What was the period of time? That's what I'm trying to get to. From Miss McCall. So that's how she communicated it. She said, from now on, you have to. Okay. So she didn't direct, or she did direct that everything go through her counsel, or was it just that she started to copy Mr. You're talking about Mr. Scaringelli, correct? Okay, so you're saying that she added him to the email list, and that's what you mean? And she was appointed in 2020. That was when she was appointed. Is it that same letter that you were referencing earlier? Okay. You said something to her and she responded? You res- uh, but she's a copy. Understood. I guess if I could phrase it another way, your concern is that she being Miss McCollum, that she started to copy her attorney on the correspondence. That's what you're saying? I was trying to figure out if she directed all communication to go to her attorney or whether she just added her attorney to the emails as a copy to him. Okay. So it started that, and we'll talk about the bills in a sec, as soon as you finish your thought there. So she copied on emails to you in the response to the work plan, one of those documents, you noticed that she copied Mr. Scarangelli, and that was the concern that you had about her directing that all communications go through her counsel? Is there anything in the communication with the lawyer that we need to understand uh, other than what you described here? So they, so so your issue is that she copied any email she sent to you, she copied the attorneys. That's what you're concerned about? So in your matter, you had court-appointed counsel. There was a guardian ad litem. Okay, so those are the two attorneys that were included, copied on the communication she sent to you. Let me ask you this. At any time, did Ms. McCollum say to you, you cannot contact me through email or call. You can only contact my attorney, Larry Scarangelli? You can also send it to us at a later date if you need some time to find it. But that's what I'm asking. If, okay. So the issue was being that she was copying attorneys, including yours, rather than you would prefer that the attorneys were not copied. And he just recently did that. He said, Mr. Okay. I want to ask about the bills.
Yeah. So
What are the attendance?
yeah, Shepherd's. Let's touch on your bills since you brought some of that information up. When Ms. McCollum was appointed by the courts, what was her responsibility for bill pay? What bills was she trying to pay or was she required to pay? Okay. And okay. Well, in regards to the bills, prior to Ms. McCollum, were the other fiduciaries, I guess you said banks, were they paying those bills as well? So is it, you said 5 or 6 a couple different times, two different amounts. Okay.
Well, so what you had alleged, okay, what you had alleged with Ms. McCollum is that she uh, failed to pay your bills, and you described a number of them. You listed a number of the bills. Said she was required, hang on a sec. You said she was required to pay all of the bills that you listed. And so which of those bills that you listed did she fail to pay?
She's never paid the city of Phoenix bills since her appointment.
Well, when we, but the first question we asked was when she got appointed, what bills was she required to pay? And you indicated there was a series of them and you named what those bills were. And that's what you said she was required to pay as the conservator. Now you're saying that she wasn't required to pay any of those bills. So, we just want to get clarity.
Was that the month? No, we're just getting clarity, Mr. Rich. So was the money that you received previously prior to Ms. McCollum's appointment with the banks, you said was 5,000 and it was 6,000. Was that a court order or was that just a part of a budgeting that the banks did and just said, here you go ahead and pay?
Was Ms. McCollum court ordered to give you $6,000 a month? Do you know? Mr. Recchi, you referenced this email of, I don't remember the date, but I think you 2000. So she got appointed in 2023. Referenced the February of 2023 email from Ms. McCollum where she said she wanted something to do with bills. What was the arrangement at the time of her appointment? What was the arrangement you guys had for these bills and to get these bills paid? Do you recall what that was? Uh, so prior to Ms. McCollum, and you were paying all these bills based on whatever the conservator at the time. We can't really do much on whoever was appointed, whatever the court order was at the time. But at that juncture, they were giving you $5,000 or $6,000, and you paid all the bills. So when Miss McCollum got appointed by the court, was that also the order of the court that she give you $5,000 or $6,000 and that you pay the bills? Okay. And so when you said that she didn't pay your bills, I guess my question is, what was the arrangement? Was Was she supposed to receive invoices from you? Did she did she contact the APS and Cox and pay them directly? We're just trying to get to understanding what was arranged and what she failed to do. So were you, that's okay. Did Miss McCollum ask you to submit the invoices for those bills like APS and Cox, whatever other bills? You named a bunch of them. Was the requirement from, at least from her point of view, you may not have agreed, but was the requirement that you send me the invoices and I will pay the bills on your behalf? Was that the arrangement at the time? Did you provide her the invoices on time? Okay. Were there any late fees or bills that were not paid? But when you say on time, were they late that caused a late fee, or were services disconnected, or what can you tell us? So what do you believe happened that she just didn't pay your bill? If you're saying what she had set up was send me the invoices, you said that you sent her the invoices and then she just didn't make the payments on time? And can you tell us which bills she did not pay? Did you have access to the accounts? Are you able to access money from those accounts? Well, when you said you can tell that it wasn't paid or cashed, how do you on the account?
On the bill, on the service account?
Do you have access to those service accounts if you needed to see them? I'm wondering if did you provide us the accounts of the bills that were not paid so we can verify which, whether it's APS or whether it's Cox or any other bill, because you've got those accounts and you can access it. Are you able to show us the bills specifically that were not paid by the conservator or that were paid late and that you incurred certain charges and things like that. Are you able to provide us those? You haven't already. Okay. That would be helpful so that we can see more clearly what you're describing. So if there's a bill in March of 23 and April of 23 or July of 23 or whatever it is, show us that the bill was not paid, there was no payment made to it, or if there was a late fee attached to that for not paying it on time, at least that's something we can review and consider. So if you have those, it would be appreciated as we're. Okay.
You can send it to me after the interview. It's fine.
That was not paid?
But let's do this. Let's do this. You mentioned the City of Phoenix water bill, AT&T, Cox, APS. How about just the billing history for all of those? Because you did state that Ms. McCollum didn't pay the City of Phoenix bill ever. Okay. Sure. Okay. Could you just okay? Well, I want to ask you this, and it's going to require a little bit of work. So I appreciate you helping me. Is the billing history for all four of those service providers? So APS, the City of Phoenix, Cox, and AT&T, just from say March of last year to current date.
We could send you an email if that helps you, Mr. Redkey. Jeff, send that email.
Yep. '23. Yeah. Just shortly after Ms. McCollum was appointed.
To date, I would add if you can, so we've got a clear picture. Okay.
Thank you. Can I ask, I want to ask you about the setup for your bill pay. I know I don't want to keep harping on this, but you just real quick, what is you're supposed to be sending her invoices. So does she have access to the online accounts? Or is it all paperless billing? Do you send her the notices that you get? And has she offered other solutions that might work better instead of what the current setup is? Okay.
What bills are on auto pay? Is it still on auto pay? If it's on auto pay, I don't understand how it could not get paid. What's the date of that? Are you looking at an email? Which year? What about last year? Was there anything, I don't know, if it sounds like this hasn't been working very well. And have you agreed to that? That's how the conservatorships typically are. Usually it's the courts that request it that way. When you said it was the agreement, do you have a copy of that agreement then? That she was supposed to give you? When you just referenced that it was part of the agreement, and I'm not sure what agreement you're referencing, that she gave you the money and then you were going to pay for it. And so if you have an agreement, I'm wondering if you have. Well, no, I thought you said you had an agreement that she gave you the money and that you were going to pay the bills. I could have misunderstood you. Maybe you. And you said you provided all the invoices that she requested. Okay. And despite you providing those, she said 2 weeks, 10 days, 15 days, whatever that was. And you said you provided them according to what the conservator was asking, correct? I understood, but I'm asking if you provided timely the invoices to her that she required or the bill, whatever she had asked you to provide, and you said that you did. Okay. All right, so she got the invoices and then didn't make those bill payments. I don't have any more questions on that.
Yeah. You can go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You're going to find, we're going to email you, Jeff will, to remind you of whatever documentation you have that shows the bills that weren't paid. We'll certainly review that as well. So thank you for that. Can we ask you about one of the other things you said about her not managing your money properly was that she billed, two of them billed, or at least two, her and I think you said, and it was her daughter, or Miss Gallus, that attended a probate hearing, and that was in June 26th, I think, of 2023, or one of the hearings, and that both of them were there and billed your estate. Is that correct? Do you know if they both billed to be there? Did Ms. McCollum, as the conservator, file the conservator accounting with the court? It's required every year. Yeah, you would receive that through your counsel. Do you remember looking at that? And I say that because typically when a conservator files the conservator's accounting with the court and your attorney receives them and you get a copy of them as well, that shows the breakdown of what they billed for what particular day. So I was just wondering to see that. Okay. I don't have any other questions there. By the way, no problem. Can I ask you what your understanding of that particular probate hearing was in June of 23? I don't know if it was June 6th or June 26th, but do you know what the nature of that hearing was? You referenced? Okay. And that's the one you said both were there and billed your estate improperly. I was curious what that was. I'm sorry? Probate. And that was June of 23, right? That's what you said in the complaint. Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're going to jump to a different topic here. As part of your complaint, you had stated that Ms. McCollum displayed lack of transparency by refusing to provide the protected person with any and all information, financial information, and documentation of transactions. What financial information, documentation are you referring to in that area? What you said that she was only providing something monthly. What was that he was providing? Okay. And those are the accounts you're referencing when you said she didn't have give you access to those accounts to see it.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Recchi, so we're clear on what it is you're alleging. So what you initially said was she was, Ms. McCollum, there was a lack of transparency because she refused to provide you with any and all financial information and documentation. And you're saying you got statements, but you're saying, but I didn't get access to the accounts. You wanted free access to the accounts. Are you saying that she didn't give you access or free access to the accounts, or that she didn't provide you anything as you? When did she when did she start providing you those monthly statements? Was that right from the beginning of the conservatorship? Was it sometime after? What year? So she got appointed in early 23, I think February or January, and she didn't provide March, but started providing that in April. But she gave you monthly statements for all of your financial statements, or did she not? Makes sense? Okay. So she wasn't giving it to you monthly, or? Okay, but you got them every month. There might have been different dates. I'm just trying to ask you. Okay, other than March, after that, you started getting them? Is that fair? Fair to say? Other than, but you got them? Okay. And that financial, those statements that you referenced that you were receiving monthly, what information did that provide to you? So it showed you the statement, how much money was in it, the transactions for that particular month, and then the closing balance of it is, sounds like that kind of monthly statement. And I wanted to hear from you. Okay. Were there any were there any statements that she did not provide to you? Or, okay. But other than that, anything else for March? Okay. But you said you didn't have access to the accounts. You weren't able to. By that, do you mean you weren't able to log in to those accounts specifically and have access to the accounts? Is that what you mean?
Is that what in your complaint you stated that Ms. McCollum in February outlined ways she would restrict access to view the account? Is that what you were referencing? How did she outline ways to do that?
So you could see from that month when you got the statement of the transactions, the opening balance of that month, the closing balance of that month. The financial statement had that. But you're saying you wanted it more in real time, where you could log in, check the account anytime that you wanted, say on the third day, seventh day, whatever day you wanted. That, uh, so just to be clear, the monthly statements that she did provide to you, those were they your investment accounts? Like what monthly statements did you say you received? You might have already answered it. Okay.
What was the third account? Okay. So an accounting of different expenditures.
And those you would get monthly as well, profit and loss that you're describing? Yeah. And you got those monthly as well as the statements as well? Gotcha. Okay, all right.
Well, also in your complaint submittal, you had stated that Ms. McCollum was trying to put you into a guardianship. What can you tell us about that? And are you in a guardianship at this point?
So just to make sure, and I think you were pretty clear, but just to make sure, you said the guardian ad litem filed a petition, something with the court, to ask the court to consider if they should investigate if a guardianship is required, or did they file a petition to appoint someone? Did you review the joinder that Ms. McCollum would have been part of and Mr. Scaragelli filed? Did you object to the need to investigate? So it wasn't an appointment of a guardianship. It was asking the court to see if they needed to investigate for a guardianship. Did you? I don't know what your response was. I'm assuming you had a response, and if so, what was your response to that petition or motion that the GAL filed and that Ms. McCollum was part of that adjoining? What was your response to that? Okay. Okay, your counsel did not. And, but, go ahead. And, so no guardianship was actually appointed, correct? Okay, that's a court appointment, correct? Okay. Other than that, the joining of the two, was there any motion or petition or anything that you're aware of outside of what you described that Ms. McCollum was petitioning the court to have a guardianship appointed to you? What was that about? Is there anything related to filing for a guardianship? And we'll we have access to court records, and so anything filed with the court, we're certainly going to review. So we can look at that, the joinder that you're describing and review that. Are you referencing the joinder, sir? Okay.
Is there something in the joiner? Is there something stated in the joiner about your wife?
We'll review that joinder and the language that was in that you're reading out as well.
Okay.
Okay. And that's the basis of that allegation that they were trying to put you into a guardianship based on that document that you described the joinder? Okay, thank you. 2023? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next area. Is that you stated Ms. McCollum knowingly filed misleading or inaccurate documents with the court involving the reduction of payments and information she provided in a bond. What can you tell us about that? What documents did she file that were misleading or inaccurate?
You're saying the misleading and inaccurate documents was related to what she filed in the budget? Well, what we could, yeah, go ahead, Jeff. We compiled everything you said about some specific misleading or inaccurate documents with the court.
So, yeah, in your, one of your complaint forms that was submitted, it says that through her counsel, Lawrence S. Garangelli, and McCollum Fiduciary Management Specialists, violated ACJA 72023, and then you listed what that says. It's by knowingly file any document with the court or present testimony to the court that is misleading, inaccurate, or false, or that contains misstatements, misrepresentations, or omissions of material facts by submitting a document that does not align with her statement of reducing the payments she pays to the ward in order to defraud a vulnerable adult.
We're trying to figure out which document. That's okay, but then you're saying that the initial budget that the conservator, Ms. McCollum, filed with the court, so I understand how it works, where there's an initial budget, and then every year there'd be a subsequent budget, unless something had to be amended. You're saying that there was false, misleading, or inaccurate, well, you said documents, but you're clarifying that that was the budget. So you're saying that there was false information or misleading information in the initial budget as well as the subsequent budget, which would be, if she got appointed in 23, there would be the first budget and then whatever other, could be too many. Sorry, sir? But we're talking about the initial budget then, or just so I'm clear on what? Okay. Are there any other documents that you're aware of that you're saying, look, they filed false information to the court with this, with the, well, I don't know, and that's what we're hoping to get from you, is to help us understand what it is that you're saying that they did, so we can try and get as much information and clarity as we can. But was that filed with the court? Your allegation was that they filed false or misleading or inaccurate documents with the court. That was what the allegation was. And I don't know if you mentioned a bond or not, a bond letter, but essentially we're trying to figure out, what did Ms. McCollum allegedly file with the court that was false or misleading, or, and you said you said the initial budget and another budget that may have been the next budget. Was there from the previous conservator? Okay. And was that in the budget? Is that something captured in the budget then, or where was that information put that was filed with the court? That was, you're saying that there was whatever was in the account when the last conservator had the account, when they transferred the money to Ms. McCollum setting up that conservatorship, there was a discrepancy there? What's the holdback, Mr. Rankin? What do you mean by that? What did that represent? Like, what is the holdback in this case? Oh, I see. So they withheld certain monies. They held on to some of your money pending whatever they were doing. Is that it? Okay. And they would have provided an accounting to the court as well, right? For whatever money they spent or got from under their conservatorship, they would have filed that with the court. I'm assuming if they're court appointed, they would have had to have done that. Okay. You're saying Ms. McCollum falsely or misled, or she provided the false information. And I'm trying to understand what it is that you said, one, what was false, and what was the document that put that falsehood, as you're alleging, in there. So I'm clear, not so much the other concern. Okay. Well, we'll review those. If you have any additional information on that, let us know. If you know of another misleading or false document right now, let us know. But with the court, that was your allegation, and so we want to stick to the allegations that you made. We're trying to investigate. Yeah, you did make comments about information with the court that we'll get to in this complaint as well. So there's another allegation. Well, and you filed that in this complaint as well, like the 10. That was in this particular one as well, and we'll ask you about that. But do you have any other information on the false budgets and stuff? You want to add to that, or we can move on? Okay. One of the things you alleged as well is that Stephanie McCollum and Taylor Gallus requested that the court grant them powers to dismiss complaints. That's what you had alleged. We wanted to ask you about what do you mean by that? What complaints are you talking about, and what can you tell us? Okay, these are lawsuits that you filed? Would the conservator be required to pay the costs associated with those lawsuits, whatever those are? you're operating on your own as your own counsel? Okay, and so you're saying that okay. Um, did Miss McCollum or Miss Gallus ask the court to somehow interfere if you had any allegations of misconduct through the AOC, these kinds of complaints that we're investigating right now? Was that part of it, or was it the lawsuits only? Including regulatory complaints like this one? Was that something that was put in a petition or a motion, or was that, how did that information get to the court? We'll certainly review that joinder.
Is that the same joiner you referenced with the guardianship?
Same one? Okay.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the tax records. You stated Ms. McCollum falsified tax records, and that Ms. McCollum and Taylor Gallus knowingly supplied false information to the Internal Revenue Service because a protected person informed the fiduciaries that the previous conservator changed and falsified tax and investment information. So what tax records are you talking about that Ms. McCollum falsified?
I have a couple of questions on that, Mr. Recke. Why would Ms. McCollum, well, if she filed in 2023, you're saying that she did not file the 2022 tax records, or she did file those? So just so I understand, the conservator for the entire tax year, January 1st of 2022 through December 31st, 2022, was the financial institution, whoever that was, you'll know. I just don't have that handy. Okay, so the conservator from January of 22 to December of 22, that whole tax year was those folks, that financial institution, First West. Right. What was falsified? Because the information was from First West.
Is there a form that you're referencing that showed that amount? Or is it just bank statement?
Can I ask you this question? Because First Western, I think if I got that right as their name, apologies if I got it wrong, but if First Western was the institution that was your conservator, was your money invested in various, like I don't know where your money was invested. I don't know if there's been any changes to that, but was your money invested in like mutual funds and different investment things? But wouldn't it be these financial institutions that are reporting? Like it wasn't, they weren't invested through uh, the conservator. They were in various investments, TD Ameritrade or wherever they were. So they would have reported to Miss McCollum then, and you disagreed with what was reported. Did you see what was reported by the bank at the time? Do you know what documents McCollum received? Do you have those emails? Did you supply them to us? Or can you? Okay. If not, can we put that on the list of documents that you might be able to research for us and get us? What would you have the new conservator, Ms. McCollum, do if a financial institution provides its records saying this is what we did, and you have yourself saying, nope, this is false, this is wrong? What did you expect the new conservator to do if they receive financial records from, I don't know, Wells Fargo, wherever the money was? What did you expect the new conservator to do in that instance? What were your expectations? So that would have been a lawsuit or something to get that? So then what was falsified if she didn't have that information? So what did she falsify? Miss, to who? Just so I'm clear on what you're saying, because it's a bit murky for me. I'm not sure what the nature of those two emails said, but if the financial institution said that we're updating our numbers, we said this, but it's actually this, and if those numbers were then provided to you or wherever Ms. McCollum provided those, what is it that she falsified if she's using the numbers provided to her? What was in those emails? Did they acknowledge that they falsified records? What, okay, so what happened in 2023 then? Was it, but they, okay, well, we'll look at what, trying to understand what Ms. McCollum's conduct and what she did, because your allegations are against Ms. McCollum, and we're trying to understand. But to who did she regurgitate it to that would But you don't know if she did, or you said she didn't file? Did she not provide the updated information? No, but I'm talking about whatever she got from the financial institution. Did she not give the accountant the updated information? Sounds like you disagree with what the other conservator did, but I'm trying to understand what Ms. Hall. But there's a difference between not inaccurate. But what? How is it substantiated, sir, that it was false? Like that's what I'm trying to. What was false? You're using words about false and whatnot, and you said that First Western told her it was false or something it was false. I'm trying to understand if their projections were inaccurate, but they provided her the same projections that you're saying are inaccurate, and if she used the projections from the institution, what makes it false other than you disagreeing with it? Is there something that we should know? But you said she would have known they were false, and I'm wondering how she would have known that it was false. Other than your conflicting information and you're disagreeing with it, was there something else that notified that it was false information, it was inaccurate information, and you pointed to email, false or inaccurate? And that's evident in the two emails that you said that you could get access to. Okay, we'll have a look at those. And it's not clear whether she filed 22 or tax returns where she did. Is that still murky or not sure?
And those are the tax returns.
What was the payment for? Like an accountant or something?
Or is that owed?
Hmm.
You owe $1,000 to the government. And the 2022 taxes that you show that were not filed are the tax return you instructed your wife not to sign.
What would, just real quick. Did Miss, go ahead. Let me ask this final question. Did Miss McCollum need your wife's signature in order to file the 2022 taxes? Okay.
And she made that statement in an email to you that she was going to do it separately, file them separately.
I don't know. I don't have any other questions on that.
No.
Unless there's something you wanted to add to it, we'll move on.
I see.
Okay. I may ask this, what's happening is his laptop is running low on power, Mr. Becky. So Jeff Hunt just stepped out to get a power cord so that we don't run out of power while we're in this. But let me ask you number 7. You'll be able to review this. This is being recorded. You indicated in your allegations that Ms. McCollum and Taylor Gallas violated Arizona Revised Statute Title 14, so 145303, which is the procedure for court appointment, and also committed racketeering, which is a criminal charge, in violation of Arizona Revised Statutes 132301 and ARS 132314.04 for not having a physical place of business and using a post office box. I was just going on to this particular allegation. So 2 parts to this. One, she violated the procedure for court appointment and committed racketeering for not having a physical place of business. That's the allegation. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about those things. The first one you said is she violated ARS 145303, which is the procedure for court appointment. So let me ask, what's your understanding of what's required in the procedure for court appointment? You let she violate. No, but you said your allegation wasn't that. Your allegation was that she violated the procedure for court appointment. This is before you get appointed. Cited statute. Okay, and so did Miss um, so you're just so I can be specific, you're saying that the violation in that the procedure for court appointment was the notice to certain people? Notice that that there was a petition for appointment? Right, so the procedure that was violated, you're saying, was the notice. That's okay. I mean, you put 5303, but that, even if it's not, we can review it. But I was trying to figure out what it is that you said she violated, because there's a number of things that are required. And also, did Ms. McCollum, through Mr. Scarangeli, did they file the petition to be appointed? Okay, understood. Okay. So she was petitioning for conservatorship, successor conservatorship, and in her petition, she those are the violations you described, which is notice as one of the to various people that you commented on. Go ahead. I was going to move on to the racketeering part and the PO box. What is it you believe that was racketeering for not having a physical building, I guess? How's that racketeering? But then, sir, you're going way off, and I just want to keep things on the straight, because otherwise what will happen is there's a whole lot of things that you may want to say, and we're going to lose sight of what we're trying to clearly understand here. I think in what you said, correct me if I'm wrong, no problem. Okay. But on the racketeer part, you're saying it's because if you wanted to inspect records, if you wanted to review anything, if because she has a PO box, that disallowed me from being able to get records or review records. Or you'd have to go to her place of business is the only way you could get that. Is that what you're saying? Okay. We can move on to number 8.
And moving on, Mr. Redkey, we're going to ask you about a statement in your complaint that Ms. McCollum and Ms. Gallus presented false information to the court during a probate hearing on June 26, 2023, involving the protected person's confidence. What was the false information that was presented during the probate hearing. So she stated she was giving testimony, and she stated that you weren't competent.
And you're saying she said that despite that you had already paid bills, that you were continuing to pay bills? Was this under oath, or was this something that was presented just in casual conversation, or was it under testimony? Do you know? What date? What's the date of that then? The June 26th of 2023? And I think, you provided that, I believe, right? Yeah. Are you able to, is that on YouTube? Are we able to listen to that court hearing then? Okay, if that's the one you're saying, this is the hearing that, whatever the date, but this is the hearing that Ms. McCollum lied or presented false information. I don't think you said lied, but I think you said presented false information about bill pay. We certainly would be interested in hearing what was said, what the context was, what the question was posed to her, whatever the context was. So can we ask you to send that link, assuming we can just open the link? Is that? Like, here's the thing, if it's a court hearing, it's public information. So I'm not sure, whatever, we should be able to access it. But if you can give us a quick link, private or whatever you want to do, but it's obviously a public setting because it's open court, it's not a private matter. Let us have that link and we'll listen to whatever it is that you were saying was false. You have additional something?
I just have one quick question to follow up with that. In one of your complaint forms regarding this specific probate hearing, you stated that fiduciary management specialists lied to the court through their counsel, stating they did not list David Wayne Redkey as incompetent. What does that mean that they stated they did not list you? Right, on the bond. Okay, so is that what all that information is?
So just so we're clear, there's two things then in that allegation. One is something to do with you can't pay bills, you're incompetent, or words to the effect of, I don't think, it's her opinion, whatever it was. Ms. McCollum said, I don't think you can pay the bills. And then subsequent, there's an issue related to information on a bond. What was the reason? Okay. What was the reason that the court appointed a conservator rather than not appoint a conservator? Why was one needed, do you think? Okay. Do you still agree? Well, typically, so with conservatorships and even guardianships, which does not apply in your case, but just generally speaking in probate, these are court appointments. So only the court can appoint, Superior Court can appoint a guardian and or a conservator or both. And then the court has to discharge or terminate the conservatorship. So, and it requires a certain process. And we're aware that you're saying, well, I don't really want a conservatorship anymore at the time. Well, let me back you up because we covered the guardianship part and all the other things. Yeah, no, that's okay. But just so to keep on track, that we covered that ground and gave you the opportunity to explain what that was about. So on this particular issue around the false information, that was related to the bill, your ability to pay bills for opinion, and the information that was on the bond. Those are the two things there, right? Okay. Um, uh, in the bond, yeah. One was in the court hearing, one is in the bond uh, letter or whatever it was that you were saying. Okay, thank you.
Well, let's talk about some fee payments that provide some information, get some clarity on it. You say that Ms. McCollum did not seek court approval for fee payments in the amounts of $10,360 and $15,154.10. What can you tell us about that? What were the fee payments for?
So professional fees. Can I ask you this, because it wasn't clear in your complaint? The numbers were specific, but what wasn't clear whether it was like one billing of 10,360 fee payment that she paid out in one shot, and in addition there was $15,154.10, say a second check for that amount, or whether it was a total of fees that totaled 10,000. Yeah, that's. And you're not sure what they are, but you think they're legal fees? When were those paid? Do you know when those two were paid? Can you follow that up?